So, hello everyone. So we're standing here to give you guys a presentation. My name is Zhang Zhehan, Zhehan Eric Zhang.
I am Norga.
And so today we're here to give you guys a presentation on our discussion from Marcus Landman and Savannah Billman from the National Committee on U.S.-China Relations. So as you can tell, the topic of our presentation is quite different from what you would have expected. And we're going to cover that later. Before we dive into everything, let's first introduce this whole committee. Okay.
So just to introduce the committee first, the name itself is the National Committee on U.S.-China Relations, or for short, NCUSCR. It was founded in 1966 by scholars, civic, and religious leaders. And their main mission is to foster more understanding and dialogue between U.S. and China to support stable, productive bilateral relations. Their main areas of focus are international relations, economic development, governance and law, environment, media, and education. In terms of membership, it includes over 700 American members and about 60 professional U.S. firms. And the committee is both nonpartisan and a nonprofit, meaning that it is funded solely by U.S. individuals, institutions, and foundations, so there is no outside foreign government funding involved.
So on the 20th of August, we had the extraordinary luck to meet two guest speakers from this committee. So the first of them is Norga. She is the Deputy Vice President of Programs who joined the NCUSCR in 2002. So she's been there for 23 years now. She oversees Professional Fellows Program, public events, and Track 2 dialogues, and that is the dialogue below the diplomatic level, as you know, at a people-to-people level within us civilians. And she has taught at a teacher college in Hunan, China, so that's a very deep bond with China that she has. And she got her BA at Brown University in Chinese Language and History, and her MA Master's degree in Columbia University on International Affairs.
Thank you, Eric, for your transition. Our other guest speaker was Savannah Billman. She is a Senior Digital Communications Associate at NCUSCR. Her job mainly focuses on communications and content creation on China-related issues. Her credentials are her MA at Peking University in China, where she studied China Studies, and her BA at NYU Shanghai in Global China Studies and Chinese Language.
So our meetup with these two ladies, our guest speakers, was not a very formal one. Instead, it was a very friendly talk, a conversation on what we think about cultural exchange, Chinese culture, American culture, what we felt about the trip in general, and as well as their own personal stories. So we decided to go through their personal stories as they told us themselves, as in the form of a timeline. So this is the timeline for Marga Landman. From 1948 to 1950, right when PRC was founded, her parents worked as journalists in Shanghai. So this was what inspired her early interest in China overall. And then in 1971, she started Chinese in her high school with no particular reason. She was just interested in it. She was just curious, and she decided to do it. But then it continued into college, and as one of our friends, I think it was Kai Shan, once said, studying Chinese in high school, it can be the worst, best decision in your life. So yeah, in 1978, she graduated from college, and she was very, very keen on going to China, and she was lucky. In 1979, we established diplomatic relations. She accepted an invitation from the Chinese embassy to teach English at the Norga Institute in Henan province. So it's basically like a teacher's college. And she taught English for 2.5 years there, mainly to ex-Russian foreign language teachers in China. And there she had many great encounters. She attracted Chinese crowds, experienced what it feels like to be like a star there, or like a Martian, like an alien there, because people don't really get to see foreigners, especially from America in there. So that was like culture shock for her. And also, I think this could be her inspiration for being so interested in cultural exchange and taking it as a career in the future. So in 2000, she joined the NCUSCR. So from the 1980s to 1990s, she started running those programs on foreign exchange between US and China. She started with teacher exchange, which was something she was professional at, and she also started legal education exchange that carried on for 5 years. And then we came to the 2000s when she joined the NCUSCR and she began to direct programs sending Chinese high school English teachers to US and back. So this is her career, and that led her to today when she met us here on the 20th of August upstairs in the lecture hall. So this was one legendary experience and a legendary life of Margaret Anderson. And then we carry on.
Truly legendary. So moving on, similar to the last slide, it is a timeline of Sarah Newman, who is still alive. I just realized like how it kind of sounds like they're dead. By the way, so starting it off, at 8 years old, she attended Chinese summer camp where she learned basic language skills and cooking, things like fried rice, and learned traditional Chinese dancing. Then she won a State Department scholarship at high school, allowing her to study at Beijing No. 80 High School for 1 year. This was in 11th grade. And in 2015, she began studying at NYU Shanghai, where she realized that the school was right for her because it had an American curriculum with Chinese characteristics. That was a direct quote from her, but to be honest, I don't understand what that means. From 2017 to 2020, she worked in journalism in Shanghai, specifically beat journalism, which is just journalism that focuses mainly on the ordinary citizen, nothing too crazy. And then in 2020, she began grad school at Peking University, and this was coinciding with the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, so some issues did occur. And in 2023, she joined NCUSCR, working in social media and digital communications.
So we've talked so much about these two people, and on the 20th of August, they both came here to meet us, Ricci Scholars. And so I would like to take this time not to just talk about their timelines, but also our timeline as Ricci Scholars as well. I know maybe Tom has told us all about him, like back at the China Institute and on the very first day. But I'd still like to go over the history of Ricci and how it connects to the experience of the two people that we just talked about. So we began very early, way earlier than the two timelines we talked about. We began in the 16th century. But we're not like an automobile program. It's just the name of the program comes from this pair of friends, Matteo Ricci, who was Italian, a Jesuit priest, a missionary sent to China. And there in China, he meets Xu Guangqi, who was a famous Chinese scholar and astronomer, and they quickly became friends. Maybe it's because of their depth of knowledge, and they collaborated, and that bridged European culture and Chinese culture. So fast forward to 2008, where everything started really nicely. A story that I've heard countless times from Tom, from Desiree, Catherine, but it's still very touching for me. After the Sichuan earthquake hit, they decided to bring students from Sichuan province to New York State to finish up their university and college studies and then go back to build their homes, which was like the most generous program that I've ever heard of in my life. So thank you, Tom, and thank you, New York State. So in 2018, the alumni of that program, SUNY 150, they created the One Fund, a scholarship enabling American students, college students mainly, to study in China. So this is like returning the hospitality, the friendship, and everything that they received here in the US. So in 2020, Miss Wei had this sudden struck of inspiration. So if we can do it with university and college students, why can't we do it with high school students? So that's when the Ricci Scholars program was founded, together with the Nanjing Foreign Language School in China, which is my school, and also Regis High School and Dominican Academy here in New York. So that's when the whole program started in 2020. But very unfortunately, then came COVID-19. So there was never a chance for them to visit China or for us to visit them from 2020 to 2023. But they had a wonderful time during the pandemic via Zoom when they had nothing else to do except like sitting in their bed with their coach on an academic project or writing an essay with their American friends, which sounded very interesting. I wish I had known this sooner. Why not? But yeah, it was a very nice experience, so nice to the point that they decided to carry that on for 3 years and even more. Then came 2024, where basically all the pandemic precautions went away and the American students were able to visit China, to visit us in Nanjing, and to do that cultural exchange that everyone has been looking forward to for many, many years. And it was a really nice experience for both sides. And yeah, that was like the main journey for Ricci Scholars, and it worked out really well. That's why we're here today in the US. And so yeah, I'm really happy that I had a very good host family with me. And I'm very grateful for this whole experience, the past 14 days on how it brought me to see like another culture, and I hope that it did the same to you too. And maybe we can extend that timeline just a little bit longer down that way, maybe. And maybe next year I'll see you guys in Nanjing. So much about where we are on this timeline. We'd like to talk about what kind of takeaway that we got from this whole experience, talking about exchange with two professionals in this field. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is the importance of having curiosity. Curiosity is really at the heart of people-to-people exchange, cultural exchange. It is the simple reason why many people start learning something new, something they've never even heard of. Like Mark, who first studied Chinese just out of curiosity, out of interest, out of nothing else. It wasn't gonna benefit your common now. So she wasn't overthinking about like international relations or occupation or anything. She just sort of liked it, and she went with her heart. And I think that's an important quality to have, to not weighing on all the costs, the benefits before going into something. Just do it because you're curious. It's nice. So when you go abroad, when we come to an exchange program like this, curiosity becomes our best tool. It pushes you to notice it and wonder, why did it do this? And how do we do it in my place? And this curiosity helps you to have conversations, to find differences, to find similarities, to find things when they're tricky or uncomfortable or so comfortable that you forgot what the program was about. You might ask yourself questions, awkwardly or happily, but that's gonna make a difference. That's gonna make a difference in curiosity. Historically, curiosity has opened doors. When the Chinese ping pong team visited America, their genuine curiosity that Margot was talking about helped build bridges between these two very large nations for the first time before diplomatic relations were ever established. So, decades ago in China, Margaret, Savannah, they also faced intense curiosity. Locals gathered and browsed. They were just they're just going to the post office and they're surrounded by Chinese people who are curious, who handed them babies to take a photo just because they were curious. They were curious about what the other side was like. So it is the kind of feeling that gives you that sincerity, that feeling of hospitality, that genuine sense of wanting to know about the other side. So ultimately, curiosity transforms cultural exchange. It turns uncomfortable or funny moments into meaningful memories. It's what makes you truly connect and ensures these experiences and connections stay with you for life. So that is the importance of curiosity, and that's my takeaway from what Norga and Savannah talked about during the presentation. And now to you.
So I actually took away something different from the presentation. I took away the importance of humor, which was another thing that Margot mentioned throughout the entirety of her presentation. So according to Margot herself, humor is one of the most valuable tools for navigating cultural exchange. She emphasized that being able to laugh off awkward or embarrassing moments can completely transform an uncomfortable situation and make new experiences more enjoyable and lighthearted. Both Margot and Savannah experienced this firsthand when visiting China as Americans. So, like Eric said, Margot had an entire crowd of people like surround her car when she was at a post office, was it? Yeah. And it was so bad. It was so bad to the point that they could not move the car, and they just had to slowly inch the car forward to get them out of the way. And another incident kind of similar to this was for Savannah, where she was regularly asked and stopped to take selfies and pictures because she was a foreigner, something they weren't familiar with, something new. And although these situations could have been uncomfortable or even frustrating at times when they had, more important things to be doing, both of them chose to view it with humor. And by doing so, they turned these moments into lighthearted stories that were worth sharing with us, the Ricci Scholars. Humor helps transform tension into connection, which is a powerful lesson for anyone engaging across cultures. I actually just want to talk about the picture here. So that's me, that's Eric, and we're doing a handshake, I think, and Eric messed up.
It was the most complex handshake I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, we don't know how to do the handshake yet, but we're work on it. But I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I look upset in the picture. So maybe if I looked at it with a more humorous lens, I could have kept my cool and maybe we'd have had a handshake.
You were upset.
Yeah.
Okay. So finally, I'd like to talk about a little bit on perspectives. It's like when you can get different things out of the same stories that people tell you, the different things that we got out of like the post office story. I was looking at the Chinese people, they were curious. And you were looking at the American, who was treating this whole thing with humor and with this memory that she had that was worth sharing to the world. So I say that we are always born with perspectives, with biases, with our views on the world. And I would say that it matters in cultural exchange, but it isn't to the point that it stops exchange from happening. I believe that we've had a great time together, but just as these perspectives that kind of differ, I didn't know that Morgan was upset because I couldn't learn the handshake. So, still, I think it's a valuable opportunity for us to connect and become friends with each other, even though that we used to live like thousands of miles apart. So, the last takeaway that I'm gonna speak here is that everyone just stay curious, keep laughing, and we can build bridges together. And finally, see you next year. Yeah.